names out there that have been telling you to stay away from crypto. Now, you might be wondering, well, why would these big players that are manipulating this market tell everyone to stay out of crypto? Well, because they don't want you to make money. They don't want you to be early in this space. It's the same reason why right now, if we're looking at this market, this is prime time to manipulate and shake out as many people as possible. Why is that? Look at the environment around crypto. Look at the environment around traditional finance. We are witnessing some of the largest moves happen around the crypto space, and now they are trying to scare the retail sector out of holding these projects this early into the biggest revolution in history around finance. But who exactly are these big names? BlackRock, JP Morgan, major banks. We're talking about major banks. It could be even Citi. All of these players have a hand to play. It goes back to, there was a video from like 2018, might have been 2017, where they were talking about how Jamie Dimon put out a warning saying that anyone that works at JP Morgan that buys Bitcoin will be immediately fired. They also continue to say that Bitcoin and crypto, they're useless, they're valueless, they don't have any utility, this, that. Meanwhile, they are tapped into the private Ethereum network, and we just saw JP Morgan tap into the Base network as well. If we, just think about how crazy that is for 1 second. If we just think about that for 1 second, it tells us everything that we need to know. But again, why are we looking at this? Why are we talking about this today? Well, it's because if we look at the market, Bitcoin is back down to 113K. Ethereum is sitting around 4,800. XRP is about $3.03. Now, again, if we're looking at this, going over here to the market, I mean, this is kind of crazy. Just take a quick look at the market cap of crypto and what just happened. We were hovering around 4.01 trillion, and we just got immediately wiped out to 3.92 trillion. This happened in a span of like an hour. This is insane. This is how you know that this is price manipulation, especially over the weekend. It is so comical that this is happening on the weekend. Because again, it's prime time for market manipulation. I've always said, never buy weekend price action. Weekend price action is not real. It's not tied to anything. Someone is manipulating the market. The market makers are throwing money in, and they are deciding who they are going to liquidate. And that's exactly what caused these price movements today, was liquidations. $250 million worth of crypto longs positioned liquidated in the past 30 minutes. Yes, this is the liquidation phase of the cycle. I said that the market manipulation on the weekend is so obvious at this point. Because again, we have gone through, I think, 3 weekends now in a row where the price action was so manipulated, yet nobody realized it. But this is so clear at this point. We only trust the weekly price action, not the weekend price action. The weekly price action is so crucial. This is Bitcoin on the hourly. Again, we have that nice price move with the Jackson Hole meeting, which we'll go over as well, by the way, here in a moment. This surged Bitcoin to 117.4K. Boom. We sold off. Now, this was only a sell-off into Saturday, right? Then throughout Saturday, we were just kind of ranging here around 115K, 114K. It wasn't too bad at all. And then today, in one single candle on Bitcoin, we drop 3.22%, down to $111,000. Guys, this is a new lower low on the chart. Are we going to maintain above 112K for the daily close? well, we'll definitely have to watch, wait, and see. But the fact that we got this price action today is just crazy to me. Now, with Ethereum was also not shy to this. Had a major drop as well. This one, though, was about almost 4%. Not too different of a drop. XRP also had a major drop as well, because this was across the board. It's about 3.4%. But again, it's just so comical at this point that almost every weekend we could expect the same. We could expect that the price is probably going to go a little crazy, and then we're going to see a flush. And this is all to target liquidations. This is why I say to everyone that jumps into the Discord or even comments on the YouTube channel, oh, I've been hearing a lot about leverage trading. Should I get into leverage trading? No. Avoid it at all cost, especially in a market as volatile as crypto. Because again, most of these markets in this space, and what I mean by these markets, I mean these exchanges. Most of these exchanges in this market, okay, are not compliant. They're not fully regulated. They're not even asking for KYC. So when you sign up, you log in, you deposit your money, you're leverage trading, all of a sudden they're wiping you out. They know exactly where your position is. They know exactly where your liquidation target is. They will hunt that. Because again, most of these exchanges are also big market makers. These are the market makers. We've heard this many times over in the past. Binance manipulating the market. Coinbase manipulating the market. It is real. In the past, these exchanges have manipulated the markets. Most of their exchanges went down at peak times. Oh yeah, I'm sure that the exchange is just going down out of nowhere. No. A lot of this it's clear market manipulation. But the biggest players out there have been manipulating this market for years. And I'm talking about, Jamie Dimon, Larry Fink. These players have money tied to this market. Regardless of what they were saying to you in the past, the only reason why they are shilling crypto so heavily now is because they already positioned themselves. But if we look at the market, why were they manipulating the market today? What exactly are they trying to shake us out of? Well, number one, Bitcoin dominance, right? 57.78%. This thing is dropping and dropping and dropping. It is falling off a cliff at this point, and we are getting closer to the major levels that will cause a complete cascade on Bitcoin dominance. This is how close we are to seeing Ethereum and altcoins going insane. The second that we continue to see this thing drop and lose major support zones, it is going to go into a free fall. That's where altcoins start to go insane. And that's where we really start to see the most violent moves of the cycle begin. And that will be the last 10% of the market. And what I mean by that is the bull market. Because after that, we should be headed into a bear market, which should be the last major bear market in crypto history. Because after that, we should be going into a utility-driven bull market. Again, it's questionable on how things are going to look. We take it one step at a time. But this is exactly what we're looking at right now with Bitcoin dominance. They want to shake us out now before we see those massive moves across the board. We've witnessed this in the past as well, in every other cycle. Outside of this, Ethereum itself. Guys, today Ethereum made a new all-time high. We didn't get to celebrate it all that much because, again, we made a new all-time high, but Ethereum also got completely wiped out. I know on the daily it doesn't look like much, but if we go to the 4-hour, we could see that wick to the upside. We hit about $5,000 almost. It was $4,955. And then we wicked all the way down to $4,700. Again, classic pump and dump. But the good news here is that, yeah, we did make a new all-time high on Ethereum. I would have loved to see a daily candle close above it. I still think that we should wait to see some closes above it to really, give us that confirmation that Ethereum is going to climb much higher. But we should see Ethereum going crazy from this point on. Again, shaking us out right before that officially happens. Outside of Ethereum, though, the S&P. So stocks, again, if we are looking at stocks headed into the new week, stocks were sitting at almost 6,500. This is almost a new all-time high on the S&P as well. When we are looking at the environment here for altcoins, guys, it's extremely bullish. This is why I keep saying focus on all of the other factors outside of price action as well. Because there's so much going on behind the scenes. If I was just looking at XRP's chart just for reference, right? We're looking at this thing on the weekly. The weekly still looks extremely bullish. We are in a bull flag formation here. But regardless of this, right? You know, if we go back in time during this entire time when we were selling off, what we were hearing about was the trade war, tariffs. Oh, we don't know what's going to happen with, the market. We could be starting to see, something like an '08 crash. There was so much fear, even World War III fears. And guess what? We bottomed out in April. We started to see a nice move to the upside, but during this entire time here, we were seeing good news. We were starting to see the fundamentals showing up. But nobody wanted to see it because, again, what we were looking at was negative price action, boring price action. Now, if we look at the daily, we are starting to see that boring price action form. It's some pretty negative price action as well. So a lot of people just don't see the bullish side of the market because they're not paying attention to Bitcoin dominance dropping like a rock. They're not paying attention to Ethereum making a new all-time high. They're not paying attention to S&P, almost making a new all-time high. On top of this, the Jackson Hole meeting, right? We talked about it briefly in a video. If we look at the Jackson Hole meetings, let's go all the way back in time, right? This is going back to about roughly 2020, 2019. If we're looking at every single Jackson Hole meeting, we have witnessed the S&P making new all-time highs after the Jackson Hole meeting. This time around, I don't believe that it's different. If we're looking at this, the main reason why at the Jackson Hole meeting, after the markets make a new all-time high, it's because every single Jackson Hole meeting hinted at rate cuts. We go back to 2007, actually. So this was where we got a hint at a 50 BPS rate cut in September. In 2008, again, likely hints of further easing measures amid intensifying financial crisis. On top of that, 2010, again, strong signal of continued accommodative policy through additional QE, maintaining the zero rate environment. Then we also go to 2019. Clear indication of flexibility in policy amid trade tensions and slowing growth, leading to rate cuts in September and October. 2023. Subtle hint of a potential policy shift towards easing as inflation cooled, followed by a rate cut later. 2024, explicit signal that the inflation fight was over, shifting focus to labor market, confirming expectations for a September cut. 2025, our recent Jackson Hole meeting, definitive signal that conditions may warrant rate cuts due to softening labor market, with markets pricing in a September cut. I don't believe that markets have priced that in. If we're looking at CME Group right now, we have an 84% chance of a rate cut in September. They want us out before rate cuts hit the market. Do not get shaken out at this stage of the market. I cannot warn you guys enough about this. They want us out. They want us out right before the largest moves of the cycle begin. We need to lock in here, and we need to stay locked in because this is going to lead to the entire market skyrocketing much higher from this point. If they are trying to manipulate us this much over the weekend, just think about what's going to happen to this market over the coming weeks. I'm very excited about, where this market's going to head to, especially with rate cuts on the table, because I do believe that we are going to see rate cuts hit the market. And if we're thinking about that right now, I'm telling you guys, we're looking at a very bullish September and October, and most likely a December as well. The last 4 months of this year should be pretty good for crypto. We're going to lock in and really focus on that. But with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord.